Chapter 876, The Feng Family's Meeting. Moreover, in just 7 days, the Iron Kirin army of King of Hell Mansion checked all the Feng family's strongholds and people in Yanjing City. All the forces of the Feng family were done in one go. This last news was more shocking than He Sha's death. Feng Yunjing had just recovered, then he was informed hurriedly by a servant to the Feng family's meeting. Feng Yunjing was injured by Ouyang Haoshuan in the Breaking Spirit Mountain. Those injuries weren't that serious at the time, so he didn't care too much. But after coming back, he took medicinal pills for healing and rested for a period of time. The injuries still didn't recover. Moreover, the wound that had been burned by the flame became more and more painful later. Even his spiritual power was corroded and swallowed by these wounds. At this time, Feng Yunjing began to panic. He quickly found his father Feng Tianba. Feng Tianba found the 10,000-years-old ice crystal jade to expel the fire spiritual power from him. Only then he slowly recovered. However, because of this the Feng family's father and son wanted fire element spirit pearl even more. Ouyang Haoshuan just blew his gold core that merged with the spirit pearl slightly. It didn't even exert 1% of the power, and it already had such a powerful force. If so, what if the Feng family got the complete fire element spirit pearl? Because of this, Feng Tianba dispatched the Black Law Protector, 2 Hall Masters and a dozen of Gold Core Stage Masters to Yanjing City and asked them to find Ouyang Haoshuan. When Feng Yunjing heard that Feng family's operation in Yanjing City had failed and that Black Law Protector and the 2 Hall Masters had died, he couldn't believe his ears. He was very clear about He Sha's capabilities. Although he was at the nascent soul stage like Bai Sha, He Sha was much more powerful than Bai Sha because he was cultivating evil techniques. In particular, his soul refining flag was far unmatched by the ordinary nascent soul stage martial artists. But, He Sha actually died. What's more, he died in the hands of Nan Gongyu. Feng Yunjing hurried to Feng Tianba's study room. As soon as he opened the door, he saw that the study room was full of people. Looking up, it was actually the elders of the Feng family. All of whom were sitting here except for those who were in a retreat. Feng Yunjing didn't dare to be arrogant in the face of these elders. He hurriedly bowed to the elders, then he sat down by the side. Feng Tianba waited for Feng Yunjing to sit down before making a long sigh. I'm afraid everyone knows about what happened in Yanjing City. The faces of the Feng family's great elders were very ugly. Feng Yunjing could not help asking, Father, was He Sha really killed by Nan Gongyu? How could he have the ability to kill He Sha? What's more, there were 2 Hall Masters supporting He Sha. Feng Tianba said with a stern face, I told you earlier that Nan Gongyu's strength is unfathomable. His special physique and identity are destined to make his cultivation progress thousands of times faster than ordinary people. However, I did not expect that he has already been able to kill He Sha in his 20s. Such potential is really terrifying. When Feng Yunjing heard Feng Tianba praising Nan Gongyu highly, he couldn't help feeling sulky. He immediately retorted, Father, I don't think He Sha is necessarily killed by Nan Gongyu. Nan Gongyu only broke through to the Gold Core stage at the age of 15. Although we don't know when he broke through to the nascent soul stage, it is just about 3 years until now. With just 3 years, how can he reach the intermediate level of the nascent soul stage and be able to fight against He Sha? Or even kill him? Chapter 877, Special Status. Feng Tianba frowned without speaking, and the great elder on the side said, What does Yunjing think then? I think it must be done by Shiyu's master. Feng Yunjing said solemnly, He Sha once said that he met a crazy old man in the Murong mansion, and that old man seriously injured him with a palm. Shiyu called the old man as master. I'm more convinced that it was Shiyu's master who killed He Sha. As soon as Feng Yunjing said this, the great elders of Feng family nodded in agreement. That's right, no matter how talented and powerful Nan Gongyu is, he was only 20 years old. Many elite children in the Feng family had not even reached the Gold Core stage in their 20s. That couldn't be explained just by the word genius. Feng Tianba still frowned tightly. His son was obviously right, but he still had a hunch. He always felt that the death of He Sha and the two hall masters should be related to Nan Gongyu. However, he did not say any more. He sighed and said slowly, "Now, it is no longer the question of who killed He Sha, but Nan Gongyu has turned against us." "Why did he do this?" Feng Yunjing sneered and said, "Why? Isn't it just that our Feng family is now declining? The Luli sect is destroyed, and the Feng family has suffered heavy losses in Sealed Dragon Domain and Breaking Spirit Mountain. Therefore, the ungrateful Nan Gongyu couldn't wait to control the Jin Ling kingdom by himself. Then, he cooperated with the Shen family to go against us together. Does he think that our Feng family will fall so easily? He is really dreaming." The elders of the Feng family showed indignation after hearing Feng Yunjing's words. Someone suggested, "Since Nan Gongyu is so ignorant, should we teach him a lesson and let him know what it is like to betray our Feng family? Does he really think that a king of Hell Mansion can fight against our Feng family?" Feng Yunjing was very excited when he heard this, and hurriedly asked, "Father, I'm willing to lead the Feng family elites to crusade against the king of Hell Mansion and the Iron Kirin. We must let those who look down on our Feng family know how strong we are." Feng Tianba shook his head without thinking about it. He said, "No, this won't work. For Nan Gongyu's affairs, you all don't need to care about it. Since he wants Yanjing City, then we will give him control of the Yanjing City. None of you are allowed to act rashly, don't even fight the Iron Kirin." "Father, why?" Feng Yunjing was full of resentment. "Nan Gongyu is nothing but a dog of our Feng family. Now, this dog is about to bite its owner, how can we ignore it?" Feng Tianba, great elders, as well as another old man with a white beard and hair, looked at each other. Then, he shook his head sternly, "Yunjing, don't talk about it anymore. Nan Gongyu's identity is special. He isn't someone you and I can touch easily. We have to wait for the Venerable to be out of his closed-doors cultivation. If you act rashly, don't blame me for being rude." Feng Yunjing wanted to say something else, but he could only agree to it bitterly when looking at his father's firm gaze. But thinking of Nan Gongyu, Feng Yunjing still gritted his teeth with hatred. He, Feng Yunjing, had been the favorite of the Feng family since he was a child, and he was one of the best regardless of his talents. However, ever since Nan Gongyu appeared, all the geniuses of the Miluo continent were reduced to mediocrity. People from the Miluo continent praised and admired King of Hell, Nan Gongyu, more as compared to him, Feng Yunjing, the young master of the Feng family. Chapter 878, Feng family's loss. Even Shiyu, the woman he liked, rejected him and chose Nan Gongyu. How could he not hate him? How could he not want to tear Nan Gongyu's body into pieces? Nan Gongyu's topic came to an end. The great elders slowly looked around and said in a deep voice, "Today we gather together mainly to discuss the recent loss of our Feng family, and then we will discuss the countermeasures and solutions together. As for Nan Gongyu, he is just young and impetuous. He doesn't want to be controlled by us anymore. What's more, he still has a hidden danger in his body. In short, he poses no threat to our Feng family. The biggest problem of our Feng family is not the King of Hell Mansion." The great elder's words made everyone present a somber expression. In fact, in just these few months, the Feng family's loss was too heavy. The first was the Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. Originally, they had made sufficient preparations to enter the secret realm, hoping that Feng Lianying could get the Purple Golden Palace inheritance, and Feng Yunjing and the others could get the Tree's spiritual eye. But as a result, Feng family finally got nothing. Feng Lianying also appeared disheveled in front of others, losing her face and even damaging the reputation of the Feng family. Immediately afterward, the Jiang family and the Murong family fell. There were countless dark spirit plants cultivated in the underground laboratory of the Jiang family. It was one of the most important laboratories of the Feng family. However, it was completely burned by fire. Until now, no one knew who did it. The Murong family was the same. The virgin boys and girls collected in it were robbed overnight, and even the precious cold-eating flower disappeared. Later on breaking Spirit Mountain, Feng Yunjing finally found the whereabouts of fire element Spirit Pearl. Who knew Ouyang Haoshuan suddenly self-exploded? Not only he killed Bai Sha and wounded Feng Yunjing, but he also escaped in the end. Moreover, Feng Lianying's obscene actions were being filmed at Breaking Spirit Mountain, making Feng family the laughingstock of the entire Miluo continent overnight. Then, it was the destruction of the Luli sect and the sale of the Qingxia sect's medicinal pills. These two were the important matters that truly shook the Feng family's foundation. The destruction of the Luli sect caused the Feng family to break an arm. The dead warriors who had been trained with cold-eating pills were killed overnight. Moreover, every major family in the Miluo continent had also questioned the strength of the Feng family because of the destruction of the Luli sect. Many families that originally attached to them had now faintly moved out of control. What made the Feng family most angry was the upper grade and even best quality pills sold by the Qingxia sect and Xingdahal. They didn't know where these medicinal pills came from. There was actually a constant supply, and the quality of these medicinal pills was much higher than the medicinal pills produced by the Doctors' Association. As a result, Feng family's coercion and monopoly on upper-grade medicinal pills had become weaker and weaker. Although the number of medicinal pills provided by the Qingxia sect was certainly not comparable to that of the entire Doctors' Association, all of the medicinal pills sold by the Qingxia sect were upper-grade medicinal pills. There were also a small number of best-quality pills that most martial artists were eager for. Each matter rolled up like a snowball, accumulating little by little. Finally, it became a great deal that could shake the Feng family's foundation. The more the several elders enumerated, the angrier they were. They were in a heated discussion. In the end, it turned into a mutual condemnation. During this period, Feng Yunjing received a particularly severe scolding. Because almost every matter was related to him or Feng Lianying. Chapter 879, Remedial Measures. Feng Yunjing's face was distorted for a while. He looked so unsightly that it could almost drop water out of it. Feng Tianba saw that they were getting more and more absurd, so he finally slapped the table furiously. Shut up. Now is not the time to shirk responsibility. Those happened in the past, what's the use of talking about them? What we want to think about now is how to remedy it. Since we are at this stage already, you all only care about blaming each other. Do you want others to continue treating our Feng family like a joke? Feng Tianba's words made the angry crowd quiet a bit. The face of the great elder was also extremely ugly. He said sullenly, I always feel that there seems to be an invisible hand touching the vitals of our Feng family. Otherwise, how could just a small Xingdahal and an inexperienced miracle healer Shiyu let our Feng family end up in such a disastrous situation? Feng Tianba nodded and said, Great Elder is right. What we have to do now is to remedy the loss of the Feng family, then find out who is the mastermind. Another elder couldn't help but sneered, Patriarch, you said it's easy. You said remedy, do you have any idea on how to remedy it? The dark spirit plant was ruined completely, the whereabouts of fire element spirit pearl is missing, and even the production of the cold-eating pill is reduced. What's more, people are afraid of taking the cold-eating pill due to the incident that happened in Yangjing City. It won't be easy to cheat people to consume by it now. The great elder frowned and said, in any case, the most important thing for us now is to make up the dark spirit plant first. The venerable will be out soon. If there is no supply of the dark spirit plant, any of us can't afford to bear the blame. Feng Tianba nodded and said, although the time is too urgent, we will need to get more feed. We must make up enough portion before the venerable comes out from closed-doors cultivation. Novels today. Calm, the second elder sitting beside the great elder continued, and also cold-eating pills. Now the two production bases of the Murong Mansion and Benevolence Hall have disappeared. The production of the cold-eating pill has dropped sharply. Other countries are not as weak as and as easy to control as the Jinling Kingdom. But now Nangongyu has occupied the Jinling Kingdom. If this continues, I'm afraid the cold-eating pill will be out of supply. The second elder said that the supply would be out of supply, referring to the dead warriors who were still controlled by the Feng family with cold-eating pill. If without cold-eating pill, these dead warriors would go crazy and die in the end, which was another huge loss for Feng family. The old man with a white beard and hair sitting next to Feng Tianba had been squinting his eyes all the time. At this moment, he nodded slowly after listening to these few people. Although these two matters are urgent, there is a possibility of remedy. Eldest brother, second brother, I will let you two handle these, remember to do secretly. The great elder and the second elder immediately bowed and said, yes, great-grand elder. The old man who was called great-grand elder then looked at Feng Tianba. Tianba, where did you say the medicinal pills of the Qingxia sect come from? Feng Tianba hurriedly said respectfully, they got them from a small medicine hall called Xingda Hall. This Xingda Hall was originally inconspicuous. It was not until a boy named Shiyu took over the medicine hall and began to sell the best quality pills. The supply of medicinal pills is getting bigger and bigger. Recently, I even heard that they are even selling the best quality pill of 4th grade. The elder frowned, since you know who did it, can't you catch him to serve our Feng family? Chapter 880, the person behind the scenes. Feng Tianba frowned and said, this person named Shiyu seems to have some background. He has a mysterious master, and the king of hell's Nangong Yu also protects him. We tried to send people several times to catch him back, but he managed to escape in the end. The great-grand elder took a look at Feng Yunjing upon hearing this, and he snorted, in conclusion, the people you sent out are too incompetent. No matter how cunning and no matter what back he has, Shiyu is just a foundation establishment stage teenager. Is there never a chance for him to be alone? When he is alone, can't our Feng family deal with a foundation establishment stage low-rank martial artist? The words of the great-grand elder made Feng Yunjing flushed, his expression became uncertain. As he said, he glared at Feng Yunjing fiercely and said in a deep voice, Yunjing, I'm very disappointed in your ability. However, for the sake that you are half of the person in charge of my Feng family now, I will give you one last chance. I will let you handle the Xingda Hall's matter again, but, he paused, and his voice became more stern, this is your last chance. No matter what, you must get Shiyu to serve our Feng family even if you have to force him to eat the cold-eating pill to control him. If it really doesn't work, finish him up. You must not let him live and become a serious problem to our Feng family. Do you hear me? Feng Yunjing quickly lowered his head and said, yes, great-grand elder, Yunjing will definitely, but before he finished speaking, he was interrupted coldly by the great-grand elder, I'll say it again, this is your last chance. If you don't do well this time, I will call Yunzhao back. You better do your task well. Feng Yunjing was shocked when he heard the words. The expression on his face was changing, and the drooping eyes concealed a deep haze. Seeing Feng Yunjing's ugly face, the great-grand elder knocked the table with satisfaction. He then continued, this time, our Feng family must mobilize all our forces. I will also talk to the elder of the Doctors' Association. I will get the Feng family out of this disadvantaged situation little by little. Also, you all must find the person behind the scenes who dares to provoke our Feng family. When we know who is it, we must let him taste the consequences of offending our Feng family. Everyone immediately bowed and said, as the great-grand elder commands. In the courtyard of the Zhu mansion, the lights were brightly lit at this time. The laughter of men and women and the ambiguous tune of laughter came one after another. On the master seat was the fatty Zhu Zhongba. His face was flushed at this time, and he laughed loudly from time to time in excitement. A coquettish and plump woman came over and exhaled in his ear, Master Zhu, I heard that the crown prince of Jinling Kingdom was killed by the emperor for conspiring against the emperor, and other princes were also implicated by it. They were either dead or injured. Only the sixth prince who made a great contribution in rescuing the emperor. I heard that the emperor now praises the sixth prince very highly. It is likely that the emperor will make him the crown prince. Is this true? Zhu Zhongba's lustful eyes kept looking at the enchanting posture of the woman. He laughed proudly, of course that is true. The most powerful son next to the emperor can only be my cousin Shengguanheng. If the Jinling kingdom's throne is not passed to him, who else can the emperor pass to? Chapter 881, Relegated to Concubine. From now on, I will be the emperor's cousin, Jinling kingdom's uncle. If you serve me well, I will not treat you badly in the future, ha ha ha. The woman's eyes brightened upon hearing this. She leaned toward Zhu Zhongba more eagerly. She even clung to his neck, crossed her snow-white legs and sat on Zhu Zhongba's lap. You say that you will not treat me badly in the future, but I'm at least a miss of a well-known family. Am I just marrying Master Zhu to be your concubine? Her red lips gently touched Zhu Zhongba's ears, and she breathed into his ear, I admire the mighty wisdom of Master Zhu. Even if I can only marry Master Zhu as a concubine, I will accept it. But how can I bear a woman with no family and no reputation be on top of me? As she said, she glanced at Nailan Feishue, who was trembling with a pale face, and said, if you want me to recognize such a woman as the mistress, and I even have to kowtow to her and offer her tea, I'm not willing. How shameful will that be to our Zhang family? This woman came from the Zhang family. The Zhang family was not a family in Yanjing City, but a family located in Lishi City that was adjacent to Yanjing City. Although Lishi City was not as prosperous as Yanjing City, it was also a wealthy city. The Zhang family was a well-known wealthy business family in Lishi City. They had many business contacts with Zhu family. Zhu Zhongba had long been instructed by his father to marry the miss of this family as a concubine, so as to better consolidate the cooperation between the two families. In addition, this Zhang Nuer looked really enchanting and plump. His soul was lost by half by looking at her. He couldn't wait to get her into bed right away. Hearing that, he immediately glared at Nailan Feishue, who was aside, and said fiercely, bitch, get the fuck over here. Nailan Feishue trembled all over. Her pale face was filled with deep fear, and she shrank even more and curled herself up into the corner. Seeing that she was disobedient, Zhu Zhongba's face suddenly trembled. He ruthlessly tightened the natural silk rope in his hand. Nailan Feishue screamed, then she was violently dragged in front of Zhu Zhongba by the natural silk. Her forehead knocked on the coffee table, and her blood immediately splashed around. The scene was terrible, however, Zhu Zhongba didn't seem to see it at all. He slapped her face and said in disgust, bitch, you see it? It's all because you are not virtuous and incompetent, but you still occupy the position of the wife. Now you make me being laughed at. Nailan Feishue covered her face and burst into tears. Zhu Zhongba raised his hand and slapped her again, then he spat out saliva on her face, I'm really so unlucky that I married you, bitch. I still hope to get some benefits from your dad and sister. Who knows that just after you married, Nailan Jinza was dead, the Nailan family was also gone. Your sister doesn't even care about your life or death and disappeared by herself. Bitch. I gave so many dowries, but all I got is nothing. You even dared to hit me on the first day of marriage. Are you really tired of living? As Zhu Zhongba said, he raised his foot and kicked Nailan Feishue's chest fiercely. Nailan Feishue was kicked down the steps and fell among the people who were having fun underneath. The group of people couldn't help saying while laughing, why does Master Zhu need to be angry for a woman? Isn't she just a lowly maid? Now she has no father, no mother, and no power, even if you divorce her and relegate her to a concubine, who still dares to trouble you? Chapter 882, Repudiation. Zhu Zhongba took a sip of wine, stood up and took a look at the embarrassed Nailan Feishue. He sneered and said, such a woman, I'm disgusted of her even if I delegate her to my concubine. Favis Wu, if you like her, I will grant this woman to you. As he said, he looked at Zhang Nuer and said diligently, Nuer, you see I have divorced this bitch. She won't give you an eyesore anymore. Now you should be satisfied, right? Will you stay with me in the future? If you are willing, I will propose to your father tomorrow. Zhang Nuer's eyes were rippling a deep light. She looked at the horrified Nalan Feishue with pride and pity, then she threw herself into Zhu Zhongba's arms and said coquettishly, Master Zhu, you know that I'm infatuated with you. If you are going to propose, I will be really delighted. The man known as Favis Wu was overjoyed when he heard this. He bowed to Zhu Zhongba and said, Thank you, young master, for the gift. I will never dare to forget young master's kindness. Nalan Feishue's appearance was very delicate, but Zhu Zhongba had used her to nourish his cultivation base, so her body was already in ruins. But not only Favis Wu himself was not good-looking, there were also meat lumps on his face. No woman wanted to marry him at all. In addition, his cultivation had not reached the perfect stage of the qi refining stage after so many years, he couldn't break through to the foundation establishment stage. He could be mixed with Zhu Zhongba because of his glib tongue and his evil ideas. Now that Zhu Zhongba actually granted him Nalan Feishue, how could he be not ecstatic? That was the daughter of the Nalan family. Even if the Nalan family had already fallen, his life was worthwhile to be able to have a taste of the daughter of the Nalan family and enjoy the delicate and tender skin. Thinking of this, Favis Wu felt a heat surge to his lower body. He pulled Nalan Feishue up and smiled at Zhu Zhongba, young master, as the saying goes, time is gold. Since young master has granted her to me, I will go and enjoy first. Facing Zhang Nuer's flirtatious breath and fluctuating chest, Zhu Zhongba was already fascinated. How would he still bother about Favis Wu and Nalan Feishue? He immediately waved his hand and motioned him to take her away. Nalan Feishue's eyes widened in disbelief. Feeling the ugly man catched her cold and tender hand, she finally couldn't help screaming, Zhu Zhongba, I'm the daughter of the Nalan family, your legitimate wife. How can you treat me this way? Before Zhu Zhongba spoke, Zhang Nuer immediately said with a trembling voice, Master Zhu, Miss Nalan is so fierce, and Nuer is afraid. Zhu Zhongba quickly calmed her, don't be afraid. Nuer doesn't need to care about this kind of bitch. As he said, he raised his head in disgust, glanced at Nalan Feishue coldly, and sneered, Nalan Feishue, are you still daydreaming? Nalan Mansion was destroyed long ago, so how is there the daughter of the Nalan family? When I married you, weren't you unwilling to marry? Now I give what you wanted, shouldn't you be happy? Ha ha ha. As he said, he waved his hand impatiently at Favis Wu, why are you still standing here? Quickly drag away this bitch. I'm annoyed looking at her. Favis Wu nodded repeatedly. He ignored Nalan Feishue's screams and curses and dragged her out of the hall. Finally, he dragged Nalan Feishue all the way to the most remote log house in the courtyard. Chapter 883, Hatred and Unwilling. As soon as the door of the woodshed was closed, Favis Wu was drooling looking at Nalan Feishue. The delicate facial features, the enchanting figure, the snow-white skin. Favis Wu's eyes almost popped out. He quickly took off his clothes, leaving only a jump of trousers, then he pounced on Nalan Feishue. Beauty, I'm here. Nalan Feishue was full of horror. She screamed and kicked frantically, don't touch me. Get away, you get away from me. I'm the daughter of the Nalan family, I'm Nalan Feishue, get away. Pa, a clear clap sounded. Favis Wu put up a somber face with his ugly appearance, looking down at Nalan Feishue like a demon, bitch, don't be shameless. Master Zhu has rewarded you to me, and Nalan family has also been wiped out. Are you still the daughter of the Nalan family? You're not even as good as the prostitute in the brothel. It's your honor to have sex with me. As he spoke, he violently tore off Nalan Feishue's clothes. The torn clothes were then used to tie Nalan Feishue's hands. He looked obsessively at Nalan Feishue's exposed white skin. Although the skin looked darkened because of the recent haggardness, the beauty was already stunning for Favis Wu, who had never been in contact with beautiful women. Favis Wu swallowed, then he was about to tear off Nalan Feishue's clothes on her lower body. The heavy panting and obscene laughter resounded in the woodshed. At this time, Nalan Feishue had completely stopped resisting. Her eyes were looking straight at the roof of the woodshed, her expression was desolate and desperate. There was no longer half of the pride and domineering in her eyes, there were only the boundless dead silence. I will obviously be the woman that everyone was proud of and be pampered all the time. I had a mother, a father, and a warm home. But why all these aren't lost? Zhu Zhongba, the bastard who deserved to be dead. He ruined my life. Not only he ruined my dignity, he even wants to trample on me. Do I Nalan Feishue really have to admit my fate? Let the scumbag Zhu Zhongba do whatever to me? No. Why? Why do I, Nalan Feishue, have to accept such a fate? The hands tied by the clothes were tightly squeezed into fists, and her nails were deeply pierced into her flesh. Blood flowed out from the gaps between her fingers and dripped on a piece of inscribed jade slip not far away. That inscribed jade slip came out when Favis Wu tore off Nalan Feishue's clothes. Nalan Feishue hid this inscribed jade slip for many days because it was secretly given to her by her almost crazy mother the day she returned home. She treated this piece of inscribed jade slip as a life-saving straw, thinking that her mother had left something for herself. But in this short time, no matter how she rubbed the inscribed jade slip and probed into the inscribed jade slip with divine sense, she still found nothing. Nalan Feishue lived day after day in the torture and humiliation of Zhu Zhongba. She was getting more and more desperate until she completely forgot the existence of this jade slip. However, at this moment, her heart was filled with devastating hatred and unwillingness. When her blood dripped on the inscribed jade slip suddenly reacted. Favis Wu, who was touching her body with excitement, didn't realize it. Nalan Feishue didn't realize it also. After the jade slip in contact with Nalan Feishue's blood, a wisp of black smoke went into Nalan Feishue's body silently. Chapter 884, Cultivate Evil Technique. Nalan Feishue's originally stiff and cold body trembled suddenly, and her round eyes became bloodshot in an instant. She opened her mouth slightly and felt that a powerful and cold dark power was slowly condensing and spreading in her dantian as if it was going to devour her soul. Watching her open her mouth, Favis Wu thought she was enthusiastically serving him. He pounced up and bit the tender lips with his smelly mouth. He even said vaguely, "Right, this is good. Be obedient, I will definitely let you enjoy the fun." Ha ha ha. While talking, he eagerly tore off Nalan Feishue's skirt and trousers, and his hands slowly moved toward her lower body. Suddenly, Favis Wu's body became stiff, and all his movements stopped. He widened his mouth and straightened up, staring straight at Nalan Feishue underneath. His eyes were full of horror. Nalan Feishue sat up below him with a cold face and bloodshot eyes. She even had a devilish smile. She slowly raised her left hand, her restrained hands were broken free. At this moment, her left hand was holding a pumping heart. Favis Wu pointed at the heart, opened his mouth wide, and made a clicking sound. Nalan Feishue exerted force and squashed the heart in her heart. Favis Wu had his eyes wide open until he died, his face was full of fear. Then Nalan Feishue did not hesitate to use a pair of slender snow-white hands to cut open Favis Wu's stomach, dug out his dantian, and then swallowed it bit by bit. After completely swallowing and absorbing Favis Wu's dantian, Nalan Feishue let out a sigh of relief. She picked up the inscribed jade slip on the ground that was stained with her blood, checked with divine sense, and then a cold smile was drawn on her mouth. It turned out that this inscribed jade slip recorded a kind of cultivation technique called Dan Dissolved Demonic Scripture. The Dan here refers to dantian. There needs to be a trigger to cultivate demonic technique. The person must have resentment and malice toward the world and a strong desire to survive. This was also why Nalan Feishue couldn't activate it when she got this. This inscribed jade slip was obtained by Mrs. Nalan from Murong Mansion with Nalan Zheng's medicinal pills. Originally, she wanted a life-saving treasure. Who knew that Murong Feng gave her an evil technique jade slip? Later, because of a series of things, Mrs. Nalan forgot about this inscribed jade slip. It was not until she saw Nalan Feishua's miserable condition after marrying Zhu Zhongba that she remembered this inscribed jade slip. So what if she cultivated evil technique and be dragged into hell? Wasn't it hellish for Nalan Feishue to be tortured by Zhu Zhongba? Instead of that, she would rather turn her daughter into a demon. Once someone initiated, Dan dissolved demonic scripture, a powerful swallowing power would be generated in his body. By devouring mortal's heart or dantian, he could obtain great power. That's right, devour the heart and dantian. The higher the cultivation of the person being devoured, the greater the power Nalan Feishue could obtain. After memorizing the Dan dissolved demonic scripture, Nalan Feishue squeezed and turned the jade slip into ashes. She was naked standing in a blood pool at this time, but she felt no shame or fear at all. Chapter 885, Revenge. Nalan Feishue lowered her head, looked at Favis Wu's eyes full of fear after death, and she suddenly started giggling. Then, the giggling became laughing out loud. She muttered, Zhu Zhongba, Nalan Heshi, Nalan Yurong, I, Nalan Feishue, have crawled back from hell again. Are you ready to accept my revenge? For the next 7 days, Nalan Feishue lurked in the dark, killing the people in the Zhu family one by one. From the beginning, she ate the dantian of the Qi refining stage martial artists at first, then she turned her target to the foundation establishment stage martial artist later. Until the end, even a martial artist from the meridian stage was seduced by her beauty and died in her hands. The real terrifying point of evil technique was not only it was inhuman, the speed of advance in cultivation was also extremely rapid, which was totally different from normal cultivation. Therefore, it took Nalan Feishue only 7 days to change from a mortal with her cultivation being drained to an evil cultivation martial artist who was comparable to the meridian stage. In the dark night, Zhu Zhongba and Zhang Nuer were still rolling on the bed. Zhu Zhongba was panting as he kept yelling, Little fairy, are you going to squeeze me out? See how I deal with you. Zhang Nuer's moan was coquettish, Master, I can't stand it. Slower. Suddenly, the door of the room was pushed open with a loud bang. Zhu Zhongba immediately shouted in displeasure as his fun was being disturbed. Who dares to disturb? How could it be you? Zhu Zhongba's eyes widened in shock as he spoke halfway. The woman standing in front of the bed had a cold and pale face. The pair of eyes were crimson, but Zhu Zhongba was very familiar with that look. It was undoubtedly Nalan Feishue whom he granted to his subordinate. After he gave Nalan Feishue to Fei Wu, he immediately indulged in sex with Zhang Nuer, completely forgetting about this woman. Now, looking into her crimson eyes, a shuddering fear rose from the bottom of his heart. Zhu Zhongba was stunned for a moment, then he regained his mind and said sternly, Bitch, what are you doing here? Get the fuck out now. Nalan Feishue slowly smiled, revealing a sinister smile. Suddenly, she stretched out his hand. No one saw what she did, then Zhang Nuer screamed and fell into Nalan Feishue's hands. Zhang Nuer screamed and struggled, Master Zhu, help me. Help me, ah. Zhu Zhongba originally wanted to curse Nalan Feishue severely, but when he saw this scene, he fell from the bed to the ground in horror. Nalan Feishue used a slender white hand to insert Zhang Nuer's abdomen, and then dug out her dantian. She actually swallowed her dantian. Zhu Zhongba shivered as he looked at the wet blood on the corner of Nalan Feishue's mouth and her chewing action. Suddenly, he got up suddenly and crawled toward the door. Help! Help! The crazy woman wants to kill me. Nalan Feishue wants to kill me, come help me. Nalan Feishue watched him rolling on the ground, took a deep breath, and showed a satisfied smile on her face. Suddenly, she stretched out her hand, and a black gas waved lightly in the air. Zhu Zhongba suddenly let out a sharp scream, watching himself flying up from the ground. Chapter 886, Won't let anyone go. Severe pain came from his body, making him want to faint immediately. He kept yelling, hoping that the guards and servants would come to rescue him. However, the entire courtyard was totally empty. Zhu Zhongba was finally afraid. He didn't care about the pain in his legs, he kept crawling to the side as he kept crying, Fei Shue, please forgive me. A day together as husband and wife means endless devotion the rest of our life. If you kill me, you will become a widow. Please forgive me. Nalan Fei Shue walked slowly in front of him with a pale face and terrifying smile. Don't worry, Zhu Zhongba, how am I willing to kill you? Zhu Zhongba showed a pleasant smile on his face, but before he could speak, Nalan Fei Shue continued, if I let you die so easily, isn't it not worthy for my suffering during this period of time? Zhu Zhongba, you really think that I will let you go for what you did to me? Ha 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 ha, Zhu Zhongba's eyes widened suddenly. Extreme panic and despair filled his eyes, making him roll his eyes and faint. Nalan Fei Shue sneered, took out his tongue and cut it off, tied him up with natural silk, and threw him into a latrine, revealing only his head to breathe. Then she slowly left the courtyard and headed to the main residence of Zhu family. All the people who bullied and humiliated her, the people who made her fall into this situation, she would not let them go. At night, the Yanjing city was completely silent, but Zhu family was experiencing a bloody massacre at this time. Zhu Yichun didn't believe it until the moment of death. He was full of wealth and his nephew was about to become the emperor. Seeing that Zhu family was about to rise to the top, it was suddenly wiped out. Moreover, the culprit was Nalan Fei Shue, whom he tried to marry by all means. Nalan Fei Shue put her hand into his belly and grabbed his dantian. A cold bloodthirsty smile appeared at her mouth. What's father-in-law's expression? Didn't you try to get Fei Shue as your daughter-in-law by all means? Why are you looking at me with fear? Zhu Yichun was full of horror, then he thought of something and screamed, my son, what did you do to my son? Did you kill my son? Nalan Fei Shue laughed and said, kill him. Father-in-law is really funny. He is my husband, how can I be willing to kill him easily? If I don't let him taste the pain of living hell, do you think I will let him go? Ha ha ha, you sinister woman, Zhu Yichun let out a stern roar, and he was about to rush toward Nalan Fei Shue. However, there was a sudden pain in his abdomen. Zhu Yichun's original roar turned into a stuttering click, then he watched as Nalan Fei Shue dug out his dantian and swallowed it bit by bit. At the moment of death, Zhu Yichun still felt that he was just in a nightmare. Their Zhu family was about to rise. He, Zhu Yichun, would soon become the Lord Protector who was under the Emperor only. Why did he end up like this? Nalan Fei Shue walked out of the Zhu family and looked up at the pale sky. Chapter 887, Mother-Daughter Reunion. However, from now on, Nalan Fei Shue's life would no longer have any light, nor did it need light. She would dedicate her life to the devil and be with hell, only willing to collect blood debts from those who mistreated her. Nalan Fei Shue walked down the stairs slowly and was about to go to Zhu family courtyard when a figure suddenly rushed over. It was a crazy woman covered in dirt and loose hair. Her body exuded a rancid smell. As soon as she grabbed Nalan Fei Shue's skirt, she immediately whispered in a hoarse and unpleasant voice, Fei Shue, let me see Fei Shue, my daughter Fei Shue, please let me see my daughter. Nalan Fei Shue originally wanted to kick off the crazy woman, but she stopped. She knelt down in disbelief, and she spread away the woman's disheveled hair. A sour smell mixed with the smell of rotting flesh could be smelled, an old and unfamiliar face under his hair. The former Mrs. Nalan Murong Yaru was noble, elegant, and dignified, but the woman in front of her had sunken cheeks, wrinkled face, and gray hair on her temples. However, Nalan Fei Shue recognized at a glance that it was Murong Yaru, her mother. She stared at Mrs. Nalan in a daze for a long while, seeing her muddy and blurred eyes. She kept muttering, Fei Shue. Even if Fei Shue was in front of her, she obviously lost her mind. Even if Nalan Fei Shue was now heartless and had sold her soul to the devil, her soul couldn't help tremble seeing her mother in such a state. Mrs. Nalan was the only person in this world who treated her sincerely. She was able to escape the final disaster in the Zhu family and incarnate as a demon. It was because of the inscribed jade slip that Mrs. Nalan desperately gave her. It could be said that if Nalan Feishua still missed anything in this world, it would only be Mrs. Nalan. Mother! Mother! Nalan Feishua whispered in a soft voice, Mother, I'm Feishua. I'm your daughter Feishua. 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 As if stimulated by the name, Mrs. Nalan straightened up and fell to his knees, then she kowtowed to Nalan Feishua, I beg you, let my daughter Feishua go. I only have her now. As long as you Zhu family are willing to let my daughter go, I'm willing to do anything. I beg you, Nalan Feishua felt a soreness in her eyes. She stretched out her hand to cover her eyes, and her teeth clenched her lips tightly. She thought that she had lost all the feelings of being a human, but it turned out that she would still tear. Nalan Feishua gently hugged Mrs. Nalan into her arms and said in a sobbing tone, Mother, don't be afraid, I will take you home. Nalan Feishua took Mrs. Nalan back to the Zhu family's courtyard. She found out various valuable medicinal pills left by Zhu Zhongba, and she also transferred a lot of spiritual power to Mrs. Nalan. When Mrs. Nalan woke up again, there was a trace of clarity in her eyes. Feishua. When Mrs. Nalan saw Nalan Feishua, she couldn't help but sit up from the bed, grabbed her daughter's hand, and cried, Feishua, my daughter, I finally see you again. Sorry, Mother is useless, it's Mother who harmed you. Nalan Feishua patted Mrs. Nalan's hand lightly, and she said faintly, Mother, it's in the past. All the people in Zhu family except Zhu Zhongba were killed by me. There is no one else can harm me in this world. What? Mrs. Nalan was stunned for a while before repeating, You killed everyone in the Zhu family? How can you kill Zhu family people? Chapter 888, Mrs. Nalan's resentment suddenly, as if thinking of something, she exclaimed, Could it be that you cultivate the evil technique I gave you? Nalan Feishua nodded indifferently, thanks to Mom giving me the inscribed jade slip that I can be reborn. Now, I'm no longer the Nalan Feishua who can be bullied at will. Mrs. Nalan was startled at first, but then cried loudly, Feishua, Feishua, my poor daughter, it's Mother who made you fall. Cultivate evil technique could make people stronger, but they would also become sinner. Once the sins were accumulated to a certain level and fall into the cycle of karma, heaven and earth would sentence the person with tribulation. Moreover, those who fell into the evil path were desperate and heartless. They didn't have human emotion. After entering the 6 realms of reincarnation after death, they could no longer be reborn as human beings. They could only reincarnate into the animal realm. When she thought of the daughter she cared for since young, when she thought of Nalan Feishua, who had been glorious, actually fell into such a situation, Mrs. Nalan was so painful that she wished she could replace her. Nalan Feishua quietly watched Mrs. Nalan cried for a while, then she chuckled lightly, Mother, don't cry anymore, don't blame yourself. Rather than live like an animal, I would rather suffer the sin after death. At least until then, I can make those who are sorry for me pay the price they deserve. As she said, she remembered about Nalan family and couldn't help but frown. Mother, do you know what happened to Nalan family? Who exterminated the Nalan family? Mrs. Nalan was startled as if she remembered something. There was a violent tremor all over her body, and her pale face turned green as if she was engulfed in death. She murmured, It's Nalan Heshi. Nalan Heshi killed the entire Nalan mansion and sold Nalan Jungza to the slave market. Nalan Heshi, it really is her. Nalan Feishua gritted her teeth gloomily, Is she the one who caused you to be like this? Mother, don't worry, I will never let this woman live a good life. I will get back what she owes me, no. No. Mrs. Nalan shook his head frantically, Nalan Heshi did not harm me, she even saved me. The one who harmed me was Nalan Yurong, the daughter I have loved for decades. Nalan Yurong. Woo, what are you talking about? Nalan Feishua was shocked, and she said in disbelief, You said Nalan Yurong? How could she harm you? Mrs. Nalan's eyes were filled with ashes-like despair, tears overflowed violently, and blood came out from her mouth. Her face was sometimes distorted and sometimes dead, showing how much suffering and pain she was inside. She told all the scenes that happened in Nalan Mansion, including Nalan Yurong who used her as a shield and indifferently watched her wailing in pain, including Nalan Jingza, who only cared about Enlingyue's relics, disregarded her life and death, including Nalan Heshi said at the end that she and Nalan Feishue were just two pawns of the Nalan family. They were just pitiful people who were being used. In the end, Mrs. Nalan couldn't help crying, Fei Shui, I hate it. I really hate the animals of the Nalan family. I know Nalan Jingza has always been ruthless and profit-oriented, but Nalan Yurong, I have loved her for 30 years. When she gave birth to her, she almost died in difficult labor. Chapter 889, The Death of Mrs. Nalan. When she was ill as a child, I took care of her for 2 days and 2 nights, but in the end, I only got one sentence in return, I'm a mad woman. My life is worthless. Feishue. I gave birth to her. How can she treat me like that? Nalan Feishue squinted coldly as if Nalan Yurong's cold and merciless words sounded in her ears again. Nalan Yurong. Humph. Nalan Yurong. You really are more ruthless and unrighteous than me, a person who has entered the evil path. While crying, Mrs. Nalan grabbed her chest. Suddenly, her whole body convulsed, and a lot of blood began to spill from the corner of his mouth. Mom! Are you fine? Nalan Feishue quickly helped Mrs. Nalan and shouted nervously, I'll find a doctor for you. Mom, hold on. No need, cough cough. Mrs. Nalan coughed up blood while holding Nalan Feishue's sleeve tightly. She uttered words with difficulty, these few days, even if I'm going to die, I want to see you to confirm that my Feishue is still having a good life. Now, cough cough, now Mom sees that you don't have to suffer anymore, Mom is already very happy. Mom, Nalan Feishue's eyes were flushed, and she hugged Mrs. Nalan tightly. At this moment, she realized how thin her mother was, there was only a layer of skin and bones left. Mom, don't die. Tears slid down from her eyes, Mom, you're my only relative, please don't leave me. Mrs. Nalan shook her head, and her tears kept flowing, Feishue, Mom can't hold it anymore. Nalan Heshi, you, don't seek revenge from her again. She is really very powerful. The entire Nalan mansion was nothing to her, Mom didn't want you to be in danger anymore, cough cough, and, in the end, she let me live and gave me the antidote. Feishue, you promise Mom. Don't seek revenge from Nalan Heshi anymore. Vengeance has a way of rebounding oneself. Nalan Feishue wiped her tears and said while sobbing, okay, Mom, I promise you. Since Nalan Heshi saved you in the end, I will let her go. Mrs. Nalan showed a gratifying smile on her face. She stretched out her hand, trying to touch her daughter's face, and she murmured, Fei Shui, you have to live well. Don't fall into the evil path. Don't revenge. Mom hoped that you will be happy, be a good person in your next life. Mom also hopes that I can be good person in my next life. Before she finished speaking, the hand that had just touched Nalan Feishue's face dropped weakly. She closed his eyes gently, and there was a smile of hope. It looked like she was asleep. Nalan Feishue hugged Mrs. Nalan's gradually cold body, slowly closed her eyes, and a tear fell from her eye. 2 days later, Nalan Feishue buried Mrs. Nalan, then she knelt in front of Mrs. Nalan's grave in an upright manner. A slender black round wooden barrel was placed beside her, and Zhu Zhongba's face full of despair, pain, and pleading appeared above the barrel. He widened his mouth and kept trying to make an inaudible sound, but his tongue and throat had been ruined. His hands and feet had been chopped off, some of his skin and flesh were being shredded, and he was being stuffed into black round wooden barrel forcibly. Because of the nourishment of spiritual power, even if he suffered such an injury, he couldn't die. He could only endure the torture that life was worse than death day after day. Chapter 890, Nalan Jing's suffering. Nalan Feishue kowtowed at Mrs. Nalan's tombstone, then straightened up and said coldly, Mom, I promise you to not seek revenge against Nalan Heshi. However, I will never let go of Nalan Yurong and Nalan Jingza even if I die. Mom, you wait and see, I will avenge you. As she said, she stood up and smiled sullenly at Zhu Zhongba on the side. Don't worry, someone will come to accompany you soon. Then, you won't be alone, my dear husband. As the vessel of gold core stage, Nalan Jingza was quickly bought from the slave market. From then on, he lived a lifeless life. To withstand the impurities and toxins in the crystal stone and spirit plant, his meridians and dantian had to bear the pain like endless insects bite every day. This kind of pain didn't happen at the moment of filtering the impurities, but as long as the impurities and toxins in the body did not disappear, he would have to endure the tormenting pain every moment. However, there was a limit to the purification and elimination of impurities by the human body. When the original impurities had not been eliminated, the vessel would often be used as a filter again and had to tolerate another round of new impurities and toxins. In this way, day after day, Nalan Jingza lived in a torturing hell every moment, wishing to die immediately and get relief. However, how could the person who bought him at a high price be willing to let him die? This was a vessel of the gold core stage. Even without looking at the expensive price, it was something that could be found on the market easily. With just a short period of time, the buyer's son had a great leap in cultivation. He would reach the meridian stage in 2 years. With this wish, the family became more attentive to Nalan Jingza. They tied him up every day, completely preventing him from seeking death or escape. Nalan Jingza became more and more desperate in the suffering. At this moment, he was so envious and even hated Nalan Xingming, who was already dead. How good would it be if it was him who died then? On this day, the family who purchased Nalan Jingza was using him as a vessel to filter impurities in the crystal stone. Suddenly, a gloomy cold wind blew, causing everyone to shiver in the room. When they raised their heads, they saw a young woman in white clothes standing in front of them. Her skin was pale and scary, but her eyes were dark, staring coldly at everyone in the room. You. Who are you? Why did you break into my house? Before the house owner finished speaking, the woman in white clothes waved a black gas out of her hand. Before these people could react, the black gas suddenly wrapped around their bodies. Ah! Everyone in the room made a painful scream, then they fainted. A blood hole was dug in their abdomens. The dantians, that had accumulated spiritual power inside, slowly shrank under the entanglement of black gas, and finally disappeared without a trace. With the disappearance of dantian, these people had all turned into cold corpses. When they died, they didn't understand who they died to. A cold smile filled the corner of Nalan Feishua's mouth, and the black gas slowly returned to her body, moisturizing and strengthening the evil aura in her body, making her sigh comfortably. Chapter 891, Repay You Well. Now her cultivation had been greatly improved after consuming all the dantians of Zhu family. She no longer had to swallow the raw dantian, but she could use black qi to directly suck the dantian. It was just that when facing some people, she preferred to eat the raw dantian, such as Zhu Yichun. Nalan Feishua kicked away the dead bodies and walked slowly in front of Nalan Jingza. Nalan Jingza was tortured by the crystal stone impurities at this time. He opened his eyes when he heard the noise and saw Nalan Feishua standing in front of him. There was a sudden burst of blazing light in his eyes. He widened his mouth, making ah sound. His tongue had been cut off, so he couldn't speak clearly, but it didn't prevent him from making a vaguely excited voice. Hui Su, Feishua, Jiu Ou, help me. Nalan Feishua smiled slowly. Father, what are you talking about? Are you asking me to save you? Nalan Jingza nodded repeatedly. His eyes were filled with pleading and hope. Nalan Feishua reached out and grabbed in the air, and a flying sword flew into her hand. She gently danced the flying sword. Under Nalan Jingza's gaze full of excitement and expectation, the sword struck down. Nalan Jingza thought she was going to untie his rope. Who knows, as soon as the sword fell, he felt severe pain in his hands and feet. The rope was untied, but his hands and feet were cut off as well. Ah! Nalan Zhengzi screamed harshly, listening to Nalan Feishue's cold words. My dear father, when I was taken back by Zhu Zhongba, I also asked you for help. I hoped you could give me a hand. At that time, how did you respond to me? Nalan Zhengzi opened his mouth wide and stared at Nalan Feishue. His eyes were full of disbelief, then that disbelief turned into deep resentment. Yi Xia, vile spawn, Yi Hui Ou Tian Qi Yi, you will be condemned by God. What is father talking about? Nalan Feishue raised her brows and sneered, Oh, I see, father is saying that I will be condemned by God, right? Nalan Zhengzi nodded his head. The intense pain and the pain of losing his hands and feet made him not only despair, but he was also full of hatred toward Nalan Feishue. Not to mention Nalan Heshi, who was just an illegitimate daughter. Nalan Feishue was his biological daughter. As a daughter, she dared to kill her father. How could he not be infuriated? Especially when he was full of hope. However, Nalan Zhengzi never thought that no father would treat his biological daughters so mercilessly too. Nalan Feishue laughed and said, Condemnation. Father doesn't know. I have fallen into the evil path and walked into the abyss of hell. How is there condemnation? The more immoral and injustice I am, the more my strength will increase. Father, I can get what I have today, you have contributed part of it. Tell me, how can I repay you? Nalan Zhengzi's eyes widened in horror. All the hatred turned into fear and despair, his mouth was widened, but he couldn't say a word anymore. A few days later, Nalan Feishue rented a carriage and left Yanjing City. In the large carriage, besides herself, there were 2 black round wooden barrels. The round wooden barrels were stuffed with Nalan Zhengzi and Zhu Zhongba. Chapter 892, The Source of Divine Soul Jade. Nalan Feishue looked at the 2 of them, widening their mouths with a face full of grievance. Then she stretched out her hand and gently tidied Nalan Zhengzi's hair before smiling faintly. Father, you know we are going now? We are going to find my dear big sister. Nalan Feishue retracted her hand, raised the curtains to look at the dazzling sunlight outside the window, and slowly said, When we find the big sister, father and husband will have one more partner. Are you guys happy? The carriage galloped all the way. The wind gently lifted the curtains, and inside was a young woman dressed in white. Her face was pale, but her eyes were as dark as the abyss of hell. He quickly let Shaoqi absorb the divine soul jade given by immortal Xianqing. After absorbing divine soul jade, Shaoqi's mental state and learning ability had really improved a lot. Although he couldn't speak fluently yet, he could already express simple meanings. Such as eating, sleeping, hungry, and thirsty. He was delighted. It seemed that divine soul jade was indeed good for Shaoqi's disease. Nangong Yu used divine sense to check Shaoqi's 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls. After a round of exploration, he withdrew divine sense and smiled at He. Although his soul has not recovered, the remaining 2 souls are indeed solidified a lot. His mind soul is faintly appearing, so his mind can only recover. I believe that with 2 more pieces of divine soul jade, he will be able to recover to the mind of a 5 years old. He was overjoyed by Nangong Yu's words, but then she thought of something and couldn't help looking gloomy. I have sent news from Xingda Hall and Qingxie sect. Whoever can take out divine soul jade, I will provide a large amount of best quality pills as a reward. The news was also posted on the black market, but there was no response. It seems that divine soul jade is really scarce. I don't know where master found it. Nangong Yu hugged her and comforted her softly. Don't worry, as long as there is still divine soul jade in this world, I will find it one day. In fact, Nangong Yu also dispatched all the forces of the King of Hell Mansion in the past 2 days, asking them to find divine soul jade. But in the end, he didn't even get a bit of the news of divine soul jade. He couldn't help but said, Should I ask master where did he get the divine soul jade? If we find it the same place, will we find it? Nangong Yu thought for a while, then shook his head. I guess immortal Xianqing's divine soul jade should have been brought over from the Siam continent. Otherwise, he should have told you the source. He was even more frustrated when she heard this. Nangongyu, do you think there is no divine soul jade in Miluo continent? Probably not. Nangongyu shook his head. I remember I saw it in ancient books. Miluo continent once had a powerful martial artist who used divine soul jade to reside a soul. He even used sky heart tree as the main ingredient to craft a body for that soul, so that he can be resurrected. Therefore, there must be divine soul jade in the Miluo continent, but it is extremely rare. Seeing Heshi frowning and looking gloomy, Nangongyu couldn't help but caress her forehead and reprimanded her softly. Little girl, don't be upset about other people's affairs. Your brother is already doing very well now. Even if he recovers later, at least he doesn't have to suffer now. No more frowning, En. Xiaoqi couldn't help but walked over, grabbed Heshi's hand, and smiled stupidly. Sister, smile. Chapter 893, Fudi Wuyu. Heshi was amused by the two guys, the big one and the small one, and she smiled faintly. Okay. Nangongyu is right. Divine soul jade is so rare that it can't be rushed. What's more, Xiaoqi is not in danger now. Even if I find divine soul jade later, it will only make him recover his mind later. He now lives carefree like a child and be peaceful and joyful under my protection. What's bad with it? However, what surprised Heshi was, she had already given up to desperately search for the divine soul jade, but the news actually came from Nangongyu. You said that there is news about the divine soul jade? Heshi raised her voice slightly. Wu Yu bowed very respectfully and said flatteringly, reporting to Princess, according to the news from Wunyan, there are traces of divine soul jade in the underground market in Yangon city of Tiangang Kingdom. Heshi looked up at Nangongyu in surprise. Nangongyu nodded at her, showing a pampering smile. Sheer, if you want, we will leave for Tiangang Kingdom in 2 days to confirm the authenticity of the news. Heshi only felt sour and sweet in her heart, not knowing whether it was because she was touched or happy. She reached out and took the initiative to hold Nangongyu's hand, and she whispered, Nangongyu, thank you. Nangongyu scratched her nose tip and smiled softly. Silly girl, didn't I say it? Don't say thank you to me, and you aren't allowed to say thank you. Rather than say thank you, why not repay me with something practical? With that said, he hugged her waist and was about to kiss her. Heshi flushed, pushed him away, and glanced at Wu Yu aside in embarrassment and shame. This man is really becoming more and more shameless regardless of the occasion. Didn't he see another person standing here? Nangongyu glanced at Wu Yu and immediately said with a solemn face, you have already finished reporting, why are you still standing here? If it was Nangongyu's other confidants standing at this time, they would step down in fear seeing that their master was angry. But Wu Yu, who lacked two things, were different. To be precise, as long as Wu Yu encountered anything related to eating, he immediately becomes ignorant and fearless. He approached Heshi diligently. Princess, I heard that you made another cheesecake a few days ago. It tastes sweeter than honey. I have been in Miluo continent for so many years, and I haven't even heard of this kind of thing. Can Princess let me taste it? Nangongyu's face turned gloomy immediately, trying to suppress himself from kicking this shameless subordinate out. Heshi was dumbfounded, but she still gave him a piece of cheesecake. Wu Yu took a bite of the cheesecake, almost crying. It's so delicious, and the taste is so unique. It's such a blessing to stay with Princess. Heshi looked up and down at this insensitive guy a few times, and she suddenly said in surprise, Wu Yu, are you going to break through soon? That's right, Wu Yu's cultivation had reached the peak of the gold core stage a long time ago, and now there were faint signs of breaking through. What surprises Heshi was that Qing Long and Xian Wu were both at the peak of the gold core stage, and they all seemed to work very hard. Why did Qing Long and Xian Wu fail to break through? Wu Yu, a guy who only had food in his mind, it actually broke through. Wu Yu swallowed the cake and burped happily before he smiled at Heshi, reporting to Princess, subordinate also doesn't understand why I can break through so quickly. After I stole many of the delicacies left by the princess from Master, then I kept thinking about the taste of food and the rich spiritual power in it. Chapter 894, Lose every time, without me knowing, my original stagnant cultivation has risen a little bit. It was fine if Wu Yu didn't mention this. When he spoke about it, Nan Gong-yu's face became even more unsightly. Thinking that this guy actually stole 1/3 of the food that He made specially for him, he couldn't wait to beat Wu Yu up violently. He was also astounded. Someone actually breaks through by eating. This guy really deserves to be a gluttonous beast, Tao Tai. However, Wu Yu could break through the nascent soul stage, which meant that the strength of Nan Gong-yu's confidence had improved by another level. She smiled and took out 2 bottles of medicinal pills and said, "This is the 4th grade Meridian's cleansing pill and the 4th grade spirit healing pill. You're just on the verge of breaking through. After taking the medicine, digest it well, and you should be able to reach the nascent soul stage." But, He paused, "Your situation is not suitable for meditation and digestion. It is best to realize it in battle. There are many secret realms in Sealed Dragon Domain, especially the Desert Domain has rank 6 and 7 magical. You take the medicinal pills, then go to the Desert Domain to fight the magical beast and look for opportunities to break through." Wu Yu took the medicinal pills in surprise. As he was about to thank, Nan Gong-yu said gloomily, "Why look for a magical beast? I will accompany you to fight. I will fight until you break through." Wu Yu met his master's cold and smiling eyes, and he suddenly screamed, "Don't! Princess helps!" He turned and left with a smile as if she hadn't heard Wu Yu's scream. Who asked him to steal the food I prepare for Nan Gong-yu? Just let Nan Gong-yu teach him a good lesson. He walked out of the room and came to the most beautiful lake in the Water Moon Domain. There was crisp laughter from the lake and Little Egg's commanding voice, "Little cow, why are you so stupid? I asked you to swing over from the other side of the lake with Auntie Little Purple, but you fall into the lake every time. You are really stupid." Little Golden Dragon laughed proudly, "Little Egg, Shao-Chi and I won again this time. In a while, Shao-Chi and I will first choose the food made by Boss." Little Egg stomped his feet angrily. When Little Dumb Cow climbed up from the bottom of the lake, he immediately shouted, "Look, it's because of you that we lose every time. If I can't eat beef steak tonight, it's your fault. Stupid cow." Little Dumb Cow tilted his head, revealed a silly smile, and said, "Little Egg, don't be angry." Little Egg turned around angrily, showing his ass, then he said to Little Golden Dragon with hands on his hips, "Let's compete with something other than swinging." Little Golden Dragon hovered in the air and laughed, "Let's compete with something else then. Do you think Shao-Chi and I will be afraid of you? Shao-Chi, am I right?" Shao-Chi let out a whining sound, then he yelled with a big smile, "Not afraid." "Ha ha ha, have you seen it?" Little Golden Dragon landed on Shao-Chi's head, twisting his body proudly, "Little Egg, tell me what you want to compete, our Golden Chi combination will convince you of losing." As Little Egg was about to talk, he suddenly saw He on the side and threw himself over excitedly, not forgetting to complain, "Mom, Little Golden Dragon bullies me." He tapped his little head and said helplessly, "I clearly heard that you lost to Little Golden Dragon and Shao-Chi in a fair game. If you lose, you win back. What is there to complain?" Little Egg immediately twisted his body and said with a flattened mouth, "Mom, I was wrong. Next time I will definitely beat them." Chapter 895, Go Together. He smiled and hugged Little Egg in her arms, then she spoke to the rest of the spiritual pets, "In a few days, I will leave Yanjing City and go to Tiangang Kingdom. Do you all want to stay in Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory to train or you want to come with me?" Little Golden Dragon immediately answered without thinking, "Boss, do you really have to ask? We are your spiritual pet, of course we will go wherever you go." Little Egg also hugged He's neck and said nervously, "Mom, Little Egg must be by Mom's side. You can't leave Little Egg here." Little Dumb Cow shook his head and said one word, go. Even Xiaoqi seemed to think that everyone was talking about something interesting, and he smiled and said, go. Purple Abyss Vine even wrapped Heshi's hand, gently stroking her wrist to express her strong will to definitely follow. A faint smile appeared on Heshi's face. A crisp girl voice came from the side when she was about to speak. Miss, I want to go too, I want to go too. The nine-tailed silver fox transformed into a human form lunged into Heshi's arms, hugging her waist and shouting, Miss, this time, you absolutely must not leave Xiaoli behind. Heshi patted the little girl's head, feeling her stable realm and beastkin power at this time, then she smiled, let go of me first, I'm not letting go. Xiaoli shook her head quickly, and she was hugging Heshi more tightly. Miss, you promised Xiaoli first, please bring Xiaoli with you. Xiaoli won't drag Miss down, and Xiaoli doesn't want to be separated from Miss for so long. Heshi smiled and said, okay, I promise you to take each of you there. But promise me first, there may be dangers on the road, so you all must hide in the void. Little Golden Dragon immediately shook his paw and retorted, we boss battle spiritual pets, how can we hide in the void? Of course, we are going to fight with boss. But like Little Egg who cries when encountering a monster, you better stay in the void. When Little Egg heard it, he was annoyed, who says Little Egg will cry? Mom, Little Egg will fight too, Little Egg is also a man. Heshi was dumbfounded. As he was about to comfort the little guy, she saw Qing Wan walking toward her. What's wrong? Did anything happen? Qing Wan's complexion wasn't so unsightly, but it looked extremely weird. Hearing Heshi's question, she pursed her mouth and said, Miss, I have received the news that the Zhu family was wiped out overnight. Zhu family? That fat man Zhu Zhongba? Heshi raised her eyebrows, who did it? It is said that it is Nailan Feishue. This time Heshi was even more shocked, Nailan Feishue? How did she do it? Qing Wan shook her head and said, I don't know, and there is another thing. The family who bought Nailan Zhengze was also killed. Nailan Zhengze's whereabouts are unknown. Even Nailan Zhengze is missing. Was he rescued by Nailan Feishue? Or did the mysterious person behind the scenes of the Nailan family appear? Heshi just thought about it for a moment, then she put this matter aside. Now that Nailan family had nothing to do with her, she had revenged those who deserved it and she had taken back everything that should be taken back. She no longer cared about the life and death of Nailan Feishue and Nailan Zhengze. Don't worry about Nailan Feishue's affairs anymore. As long as she doesn't come to provoke me, what she does has nothing to do with me. Qing Wan bowed and said, yes, miss. Chapter 896. Before leaving after reporting the matter, Qing Wan did not step down, but she looked at Heshi with scorching eyes. It wasn't until Heshi felt spooky being stared by her that she said nervously, Miss, I have heard from Wu Yu that Miss may be going to the Tiangang Kingdom to find Divine Soul Jade. Please bring me too. Before Heshi had time to answer, she continued to show her loyalty, Miss, you are surrounded by rude men or children who don't understand anything. How can you not have a maid to take care of you? Please bring me along, I will take good care of Miss and will not cause trouble to Miss. Heshi smiled and pressed her forehead. She secretly thought that when Qing Wan first appeared, she was obviously a cold character. She only spoke to her in a matter-of-fact tone. It had just been a few months, she became talkative like Wu Yu. She smiled and said, okay, I got it, I will bring you along. After Qing Wan got Heshi's affirmation, she immediately went back happily to show off to Wu Yu. She had just learned that Wu Yu needed to consolidate his current realm to advance to the nascent soul stage, so he was forced to stay by Master. Master was only going to take Qing Long and Bai Hu out. Wu Xing, Xian Wu, and others would stay in Yanjing City. After all, Yanjing City had just taken over the forces of the Feng family, and it would take time to stabilize. Qing Wan now completely admired Heshi. She also knew that she would be her mistress in the future, so she made up her mind to follow Heshi. She skipped Nangong Yu and directly begged Heshi to bring her along. Fortunately, Princess is nice to talk to." She immediately agreed to it. Qing Wan thought with joy. Master is a wife-slave anyway. As long as Princess agrees, he will definitely not stop me anymore. In the next 10 days, He began to make formal preparations before leaving. Apart from everything else, she had to refine the medicinal pills that Xingde Hall needed during the time she was away. Although this time they went to Tiangang Kingdom, the medicinal pills from Qingxia sect could be directly supplied there, but the Qingxia sect would know that the medicinal pills were made by He herself. Those who are talented will bring misfortune onto themselves. Now, she was eye-catching enough. If people know that all the medicinal pills sold by Xingde Hall were made by her alone, the consequences were hard to imagine. In addition to the medicinal pills supplied to Xingde Hall and Qingxia sect, she had also prepared many new poisons, all-purpose antidote, and some supportive medicinal pills for emergencies. She also transplanted various rare spirit plants from the sealed dragon domain into the void. Some spirit plants, such as Thousand's Leaves Borage, could break all illusions after taking nectar. This was extremely useful when encountering danger outside. In addition, He took some of the magic weapons in sealed dragon domain at will, but what she took out was only 1/10,000th of the collection in it. Now that she was going out, she naturally had to choose the suitable ones for herself and the people accompanying her. When Qing Long, Bai Hu and Qing Wan saw He brought the flying sword magic weapons to them, their eyes almost popped out. That's the 8th grade Jinyang sword, right? It can sell tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of crystals on the market, but Princess just throws it around the corner like trash. That is the legendary weapon, Sway Blade, right? It was thrown together with a piece of rag. Chapter 897, Long Live Princess. There was also that Moyang dual sword which had harvested numerous souls. How frightening was it in the past? Now, it was just left in the corner. Bai Hu kept taking deep breaths, feeling that his worldview needed to be reshaped and IQ needed to be rewritten. On the surface, Qing Long was calm, but he had already lost his mind. They used to think that their master was prodigal. He could simply gift treasure of tens of millions of crystals to Little Egg for fun. But now, seeing their princess, Qing Long and Bai Hu weren't so surprised anymore. That's right. They were really destined to be together. Compared with Princess' way of squandering, their master was nothing at all. Qing Wan was the calmest person. She was now in a state of worshipping He unconditionally, so she happily chose the Moyang dual sword as He asked her to pick. Just when the three of them came out from the treasure vault in the Water Moon domain with the magic weapons they chose, they met Wu Yu's eyes full of grievance. Before everyone could react, Wu Yu threw himself in front of He and cried, "Wang Hao, how can you be biased? You gave them items, but not me. I'm clearly the most loyal to you." He was helpless. "If you want magic weapons, go and pick them yourself. You can pick a few of them as you like." Wu Yu immediately shook his head decisively. "No, I don't want magic weapons, I just want to be princess side. Only by following the princess can there be good food to eat." Bai Hu laughed and said, "Wu Yu, you are about to break through to the nascent soul stage. In case you break through on the road, you will not be able to move for at least half a month, and you need someone to protect you. Do you want master and princess to guard you by your side? You should stay here obediently and stop insisting." Wu Yu suddenly wanted to cry without tears. "I would rather choose not to break through than following princess to eat something delicious." He sighed helplessly. She threw out a storage bag and said, "The food in this bag is enough for you to eat for several months. Get lost now." She couldn't help it, so she gave Little Egg's reserved food to this annoying guy. "I hope Little Egg will not find out when he returns to the void later, otherwise I will be annoyed to death by him." Wu Yu took a look at the storage bag, and his divine sense felt the smell of food inside. He sucked his saliva and immediately became delightful. "Long live Princess. I will definitely stay here to watch the place for Princess. Have a safe trip, Princess." Qing Long and Bai Hu, Wu Yu, do you still remember who your master is? He, watch the place. Isn't that a dog? He gave them magic weapons, but she herself did not find anything more suitable for her than Li Shui's sword. Li Shui's sword was enchanted with water and fire attributes, and the spiritual root she now showed in front of people was also a water and fire dual spiritual root, so Li Shui's sword was the most suitable weapon for her. Of course, there were many magic weapons in Sealed Dragon Domain's secret library, so she didn't mind throwing a few more into the void in case she needed them. But after closing the vault, He couldn't help but come to the control room of Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. Chapter 898, Hope he will like I. She looked up at the vague palace above and the high-hanging sealed dragon sword, and she couldn't help muttering, when will I get this sealed dragon sword? Little Golden Dragon also shook his. The enchantment set by the former owner can only be entered with at least the strength of the gold core stage. But boss, you are now at the peak of the meridian stage. I believe you will soon be able to advance to the gold core stage. When you get the sealed dragon sword, let's see how will those Feng family bastards die, he. He lowered her eyes slightly and did not respond to Little Golden Dragon's words, but she murmured to herself, I'm not the one who uses it, boss, what did you just say? Why not use it? He shook her head and said, it's nothing. She just wanted to replace the fake copy in someone's hand with a real one. Thinking of so many things that man did for himself, whether it was breaking into the Breaking Spirit Mountain in spite of the danger of tearing the space or now he did not hesitate to abandon the matters of the King of Hell Mansion and agreed to accompany her to the Tiangang Kingdom. What Nangong Yu did for her, she didn't say anything, but she kept them in her heart and soul. She would never forget his kindness, his preciousness and rareness, so she wanted to give something back even more. Now that Nangong Yu was in the soul-splitting stage, Miluo continent had almost no suitable weapons for him to exert his true strength. It would be great if she could get the real sealed dragon sword for him. In Little Golden Dragon's suspicious gaze, He blushed slightly and glanced at the hanging sealed dragon sword and left the control room. One day, I will give sealed dragon sword to Nangong Yu. I hope he will like it. After half a month, He was ready to go to Tiangang Kingdom. The tool used for this trip was a simple-looking flying boat named Star Ocean. The outer appearance of this flying boat was dark blue. Its size could be changed while flying to a minimum size of a flying sword. It could fly unnoticed in the air. The most amazing thing was that it could also transform into various other forms of transportation when passing through magical beast forests and other places that were not suitable for flying, such as a carriage. This was really essential for home travel. Moreover, although the appearance of Star Ocean was unremarkable and even looked a little shabby, the interior decoration was extremely comfortable and luxurious. Although there was only one room, it had a large area and a complete set of furniture. There was even a king-sized bed. Star Ocean's only disadvantage was that its flight speed was too slow, and the crystal stone energy consumption was extremely huge because most of the energy provided by the crystal stone was used on the shape and size changing. But as far as Nangong Yu was concerned, he didn't care about these crystal stones at all, nor was he in a hurry to reach the Tiangang Kingdom. The idea of being able to spend a long time alone in the same room with Shi'er on a slow journey or even sleep in the same bed, made Nangong Yu full of expectations for the future journey. This was also the reason why he gave up the extremely fast God Speed boat and chose Star Ocean boat. However, things obviously wouldn't happen at one's wish. On the day of the trip, when Nangong Yu saw the large group of people next to He, his face was gloomy like a black hole. Never mind those few spiritual pet guys, why are even Ouyang Haoshuan, Gu Lufeng and Xin Qingchua all follow along? Chapter 899, Eyesores. Moreover, seeing those guys chattering around He and making noise happily, Nangong Yu knew that his original beautiful plan could only be a dream. Do these little bastards really think that this time out is an outing? Meeting Nangong Yu's faint gaze, He was also a little guilty. Even she did not expect that when she was going out today, Gu Lufeng, Shen Qingxue and Ouyang Haoshuan actually came to her. The reason Gu Lufeng wanted to follow was very good. Tiangang Kingdom is one of the largest suppliers of medicinal pills in Shengde. I think, as the manager and person in charge of all the businesses under Shiyu, I'm qualified to apply to visit the Tiangang Kingdom to draft our development plan. Shen Qingxue grabbed Heshi's hand familiarly and chattered, Brother Shiyu, no, Sister Yu, how can you go to the Tiangang Kingdom without taking me? I know the Tiangang Kingdom best. Whatever you are looking for, as long as I inform Qingxie sect, wouldn't it ease up the search? Besides, I have been away from Qingxie sect for so long, and I start to miss home and grandpa. Sister Yu, can you take me with you? Ouyang Haoshuan didn't come to request to go along. He just wanted to take a free ride to the Thousands Years Flame Cave next to the Tiangang Kingdom to train in it. Heshi couldn't help but frown after hearing Ouyang Haoshuan's words. Tiangang Kingdom is not far from Sangming Kingdom, and there are often people going to train in the Thousands Years Flame Cave. If you meet someone of the Feng family, Ouyang Haoshuan turned his hand, took out a human skin mask, and smiled, isn't there still the mask you gave me, Shiyu? Heshi was startled, then she heard Ouyang Haoshuan saying again, I want to avenge Feng Yunjing, so I must let my cultivation reach the nascent soul stage. Shiyu. You also know that my body condition is special now. Except for the Thousands Years Flame Cave, I can't find a place to improve my cultivation. So, please allow me. Since Ouyang Haoshuan had already said this, Heshi of course wouldn't say anything to reject him. She just gave him a lot of life-saving medicinal pills and magic weapons. So, just like that, on the day of Heshi's departure, in addition to bringing 6 little ones, 3 more eyesores were added. Although Nangongyu was depressed, they were already here. He couldn't really kick them out of the flying boat, right? Isn't that telling Heshi that I'm jealous and narrow-minded? Therefore, the great His Royal Highness King of Hell could only gloomily swallow his grievances. Looking at the crowded people in the cabin and the noisy laughter, His Royal Highness King of Hell silently complained. If he knew this was, he might as well use the God Speed boat. Star Ocean boats slowly flew up into the sky. Heshi walked to the side of the boat and looked at Yanjing City and Jinling Kingdom from a distance. In her eyes, they became smaller and smaller, farther and farther as if they would disappear at any time. Star Ocean was surrounded by a protective cover that could prevent the turbulence caused by the airflow in flight, also shield the wind and rain, and adjust the temperature. Heshi stretched her hand out of the protective cover, and his fingertips felt the icy cold in the air and the gust of wind passing through his fingertips. A faint smile appeared at her mouth. Suddenly, her body was embraced in a warm and broad embrace, and the familiar breath made her feel relieved. Heshi raised her head and met Nangongyu's tender eyes and happy smile. Nangongyu scratched the tip of her nose and said, What are you thinking about here alone? Be careful not to fall out of the flying boat protective shield. The height of the flying boat was much higher than the height of the martial artist's flying sword, so the natural wind outside was bigger, and the air was thinner and colder. Isn't it a well-known fact that he is jealous and narrow-minded? Chapter 900, Tiangang Kingdom, Yangon City. Of course, with Heshi's cultivation level, she would not fall to death or freeze to death, but she will definitely suffer some damage. Heshi grabbed his warm and wide palm, gently rubbed the thin rough skin in his palm, and said in a low voice, I'm thinking about many things. I'm thinking about our first encounter when I first came to this world, thinking about my past experiences in the Jingling Kingdom. This is my first time leaving the Jinling Kingdom. Are you reluctant? The low male voice was soft and tolerant. Heshi shook her head and smiled lightly. The people I care about are all by my side, and everything I cherish has not been lost. My future lies in the wider world. The little Jinling Kingdom can't trap me forever. So, I'm not reluctant. Heshi turned sideways slightly, looked up at the man's handsome facial features and affectionate eyes. She said in a low voice, I just wish that such happiness and peaceful years will never leave me. Silly girl. Of course. Because I will always guard you and everything you cherish. Me too. Nan Gongyu lowered his head and gently kissed the girl's soft lips. The outside of Flying Boat was cold and windy, but inside the Flying Boat was warm like spring, stable and happy. The Star Ocean boat was flying toward the distant Tiangang Kingdom and also the distant turbulent future. After 3 days of flying, He and others finally arrived at Yangon City in the Tiangang Kingdom. The Tiangang Kingdom was the largest country in Miluo continent, second only to Tsangming Kingdom. Therefore, although this Yangon City was only a small and remote city, its scale and prosperity were far better than the capital city of Jinling Kingdom, Yanjing. The Star Ocean boat landed in the suburbs not far from Yangon City. He and the others said goodbye to Ouyang Haoshuan, who was heading to the Thousands Years Flame Cave, then they entered Yangon City on foot. They were quickly attracted by the bustling scene. The streets of the town were intertwined. There were shops on both sides of the street. Pedestrians on the road were like a river, but the whole street looked very clean and tidy. Listening to the calls of various vendors and stores, even He became interested. The place where she stayed the most after coming to ancient times was Yanjing City, and the decoration styles of some stores in Yangon City were slightly different from those of Yanjing City. Many of the things sold on both sides of the street have not been seen in Yanjing City. The little ones were the most happiest. They each transformed into cute little spiritual beasts and lie on Xiaoqi excitedly, chattering non-stop. When they saw anything they liked, they would just grab it. Especially little Egg, he kept stuffing foods into his mouth, then his greasy hands would grab the beautiful jewelry. This gave trouble to Gu Lufeng and Bai Hu, who were following these little ones all the way. They had to clean up the mess the little ons caused. Nan Gongyu naturally stayed beside He all the way. He himself didn't like such a crowded place, but as long as He liked, he was willing to accompany her. When there was a crowded crowd, he also used spiritual power to separate the crowd from time to time, so as not to bump into He. However, the only thing that made Nan Gongyu upset was that he tried to hold He's hand or hold her in his arms several times, but He relentlessly refused. Every time Nan Gongyu stretched out his hand, He glared at him. "Don't be kidding, I'm now dressed in man's clothing. How can two men cuddle on the street?" Chapter 901, Fans. He and her party were very interested in the bustling Yangon City. The martial artists and mortals in Yangon City were naturally attracted by this group of people. The beautiful women, handsome men, and cute spiritual pets all walking on the street was a beautiful landscape. Many people can't help but cast their gaze. The most eye-catching ones were of course Nan Gongyu and He. Nan Gongyu was tall and straight with outstanding facial features. His face was full of domineering demeanor. His gestures were full of charm that made people blush and heartbeat accelerate. Although He looked young and petite, her face looked exceptionally clear. It was almost brighter than the moon in the sky. Especially the long and narrow phoenix eyes, when they were slightly curved, they could even hook away people's souls. Two men of two different types, one was a young man and the other was a teenager, but they were both breathtaking, making people unable to extricate themselves. Soon, they had their own fans in the crowd, and the fans quarreled about which one looked better. Junior sister apprentice Lu, look. The man in black in front is so handsome. Don't you think he is a bit like the king of hell in the legend? Senior sister apprentice Jiang, I think the young man beside him is more handsome. His skin is as white as jade. Yeah, I cannot eat for 3 days 3 nights by just looking at his face. What you know, little girl? You look at a man, of course, depends on his figure and demeanor. Obviously, the man in black is cooler and handsomer, and I just heard him speak. Even his voice is so melodious. It's really perfect. Who said that? That boy is also very imposing. The chattering voice came into He's ears, making her feel a long-lost familiarity. She couldn't help turning her head to look, and she showed a hearty smile. It turns out to be them. The world is really strange. I unintentionally come to a remote town in Tiangang Kingdom, and I'm able to meet two acquaintances. These women who were talking excitedly to her and Nangong Yu were the same women who talked about King of Hell at the drunk immortal house in Yanjing City that day. At that time, she and Nangong Yu didn't know each other. When she heard them talking about King of Hell, she couldn't help but sigh. If Nangong Yu appeared in front of them, would they run to him and hold up a sign written with, "Your Royal Highness King of Hell, I love you"? She couldn't help laughing when she thought of such a scene. Seeing her inexplicably laughing, Nangong Yu couldn't help but curiously said, "What's the matter?" She glanced at him, pursed his mouth and smiled, "Nothing. I just sighed that His Royal Highness King of Hell is really girls' dream lover. You can have fans wherever you go." Fans? What is that? Nangong Yu frowned suspiciously. As he was about to ask, he heard a woman's scream from behind. "Ah, Senior Sister Apprentice Jiang, did you see? The young boy just smiled at me, he looked at me, and smiled at me." The woman named Senior Sister Jiang couldn't help but exclaimed, He really looks so handsome." Right. He is better looking than the man next to him in black. I announced that I will give up my crush on His Royal Highness King of Hell and favor this boy instead. I just don't know what this boy is called. Which family is he from? Nangong Yu turned his head with a gloomy face. Chapter 902, Dangerous Carriage. He made up his mind that when they went together, he must let He wear women's clothing, and he must swear his sovereignty in front of others. Several people were strolling leisurely all the way, and suddenly there was the sound of horses in front of the street. Immediately afterward, a group of people appeared on both sides of the street, arrogantly driving away pedestrians on the road. This group of people were wearing dark blue costumes and were all at the foundation establishment. Their actions to drive the crowd are very rude, and they kept yelling, "Get out! Get out! Our lady's carriage is about to come over. If you crash into the lady, can you take responsibility?" Because the carriage came so fast, this group of people drove the pedestrians in a hurry. Many people couldn't escape and were pushed to the ground. Some even fell in the middle of the road. They were kicked to the corner by the group of people, and they couldn't stop screaming in pain. Such a speed had crushed the whole street into a mess. It was a four-wheeled carriage. The carriage was huge and prosperous. It was inlaid with shining gems. There were 4 horses in front of the carriage, and each one was a fine horse that could gallop very fast. Many hawkers' stalls were knocked directly to the ground by the horses, the goods fell all over the ground. Some people were even stomped by the horses, and they could only keep rolling on the ground in pain. Suddenly, a woman screamed sternly from the side of the road, "Baby, come back. Come back, hurry." The woman's screams were too terrifying, and it attracted the attention of many people. Everyone saw a little boy about 3 years old staggering toward the middle of the road. A yellow doll fell in the middle of the road. The doll was stuffed with a crystal stone which would emit a faint light at night. His mother worked so hard to buy it for the little boy, so he liked it so much. He staggered to the middle of the road and picked up the doll happily, then he heard his mother scream. The little boy turned around and smiled at his mother with the doll in his arms. "Mom. Mom, baby." Hearing the sound of horses approaching, the little boy turned his head in horror and saw the huge horse head right in front of him. The horse's hoof was raised high, and it was about to stomp on the boy's head. "Mom!" The boy let out a scream, hugged the doll tightly and closed his eyes in fright. However, the expected pain did not come. The boy was lifted into the air. Immediately afterward, the carriage that was still running was grabbed by one hand. That's right, it was just one hand, a snow-white, chubby little hand that grabbed the edge of the carriage. The carriage that weighed more than 1,000 kilograms and was pulled by 4 horses was actually stopped by this hand after a harsh friction. Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them. They all looked at the owner of the hand. After seeing the person's appearance, everyone couldn't help taking a breath of horror. It was a girl who looked only 16 years old, with a round apple face, snow-white skin, and baby fat. She looked petite but not skinny. On the contrary, her chest had fully grown at such a young age. Chapter 903, Ignorant Girl. The girl was wearing a pink gauze skirt, and her head was combed with a unique bun of young girl. She looked round and soft, which was indescribably cute and childish. But such a girl who looked so soft and cute, actually stopped a carriage and 4 horses with her bare hand. Who the hell was this girl? The little boy in the arms of the girl timidly lifted his head from the doll. Seeing the girl's pinky clothes, he couldn't help but blurt out, "Rabbit. Why is this sister look so similar to the spiritual beast Long Ears Rabbit in my house? It is also pinky and fat." The girl widened her eyes when she heard this. She said curiously, "How do you know my name?" Before the little boy could answer, the mother, who was scared witless, finally rushed out and held the little boy into her arms. She cried, "Baby, baby, Mom is really scared by you. Fortunately, you are fine." Woo! Then the mother looked at the girl on the side and thanked her. "Girl, thank you for your life-saving grace." The mother's eyes were full of gratitude, but when she looked at the people in blue who had already gotten close, her face suddenly changed. "Girl, those people are not easy to mess with. You have to be careful." After saying this, the mother didn't dare to stay anymore. She hurriedly left with the little boy in her arms. As soon as the mother left with the child, the girl was surrounded by the people in blue. These people in blue all had weapons in their hands, and their expressions were vicious and full of gloom. The girl who was surrounded still looked ignorant, making her look pitiful and petite. The crowd around the audience knew what a miserable end this girl would end up with, and they were immediately full of sympathy for her. The girl was completely ignorant as she shouted to the men in blue, You guys got in my way. Get out of the way, I'm leaving." One of the men in blue sneered, "You did this, and now you still want to leave?" The girl looked at them puzzledly, and she said loudly, "What, I did this? What do you mean by this? I didn't do anything wrong. Little Rabbit has always followed Master's teachings and has never done bad things. Why did you guys stop me?" The man in blue only thought she was pretending to be innocent, so he shouted furiously, "You still dare to say that you don't know what you have done wrong? How dare you stop our miscarriage and even offend our miss? Are you looking for death?" The girl scratched her hair in confusion. She shook her head and said, "I'm not looking for death. I'm here to find someone." "Are you looking for death? Do you want me to do that for you?" The onlookers couldn't help but laugh at what the girl said. It was just that due to the powerful force of the men in blue, even if it was hard to hold back, they still held it. She and the others who watched the excitement didn't even think about holding back. Especially Bai Hu, he immediately laughed out loud hearing the little girl's words. The girl's words had already made the man in blue annoyed. Now he heard the laughter coming from the crowd, his face was even more distorted. He waved the halberd in his hand at the girl, saying sternly, "Damn girl, I think you are tired o' living. I don't care who are you looking for. I will teach you a lesson today so that you know who you shouldn't mess with." Chapter 904, Not considering as fighting. With that said, the man in blue waved his hand and said to the others, "Go. Teach this ignorant girl a good lesson." As soon as the command was made, the men in blue surrounding the girl all made a move. Seeing that the gleaming swords, spears and halberds were about to turn the delicate girl into a meat paste, many people couldn't bear to cover their eyes. Only the faces of He and others showed the expression of calmly watching the good show. The next moment, the girl mumbled, "Why are you all attacking me? I did nothing wrong." "Right, you all must be bad guys. Bad guys deserve to be beaten up." After speaking, her little chubby hand stretched out and grabbed one of the halberds, stabbing at her. The man in blue holding the halberd suddenly felt his weapon had pierced into an iron block. He couldn't move it no matter how. The girl sneered and exerted force at the halberd. The man in blue couldn't help screaming, and he was lifted up forcibly. "Ha, you all are not as strong as I'm, not my opponent." The girl giggled, then she spun around while grabbing the halberd. After spinning around, the men in blue were being knocked down by a strong force, making bursts of painful screams. The girl saw that they were all down, then she put her hands on her waist and said proudly, "Look, told you you are not my opponent. Now you all convinced now." But then she remembered something as she said with an anxious face, "Oh no, Master said that I can't fight casually here. Little Rabbit has just fought. I won't be punished by Master when I go back, right?" "No, no." The girl immediately shook her head and denied herself. "Master said that I can't fight, but I can't be bullied by others. This group of bad guys attacked me first. I'm defending myself, not fighting." "That's right, not consider as fighting. Master will definitely not blame me." The men in blue on the ground were only knocked down by a huge force, but they were not injured. At this time, they had recovered. They all looked angry. They were a group of martial artists of the Foundation establishment stage, and they were actually played by a teenage girl. Moreover, the girl didn't seem to have cultivation at all. She was just born with a little stronger physical strength. Thinking of this, the leader gritted his teeth and said sternly, "Okay. Damn girl, since you are so arrogant, don't blame me for being rude." As he said, he suddenly took out a gourd-shaped weapon in his hand. With the injection of his spiritual power, the weapon emitted a faint blue light at the girl instantly. As soon as the blue light touched the girl, it turned into a net that tightly bound the girl. "Wah, what's going on? Why can't I move anymore?" The girl was tied up, but she still couldn't understand the situation. "What did you use to tie to me?" The man in blue saw that she was restrained, and he sneered in relief. He waved his hand, "Why are you all just standing there? Go and get her." The guards in blue immediately rushed up when they heard the command. The girl's petite figure was soon overwhelmed by a group of fierce men in blue. Everyone showed unbearable expressions on their faces. Especially the mother who was holding the child. Before she went far, her eyes flushed anxiously when she saw this scene. Chapter 905, Sister Tutu is so Gria. She wanted to go up and plead, but she was too fearful of these men in blue. At this moment when the mother was struggling, she suddenly heard a clear cheer from her son. "Wow, Sister Tutu is great." The mother quickly looked up and saw that the men in blue who had overwhelmed the girl were suddenly knocked back one by one. In the blink of an eye, all the people in blue fell to the ground again. This time it was not like the last time where they only suffered some external injuries. Most of them couldn't get up for a while and could only keep moaning in pain. The girl was holding a blue silk-like thing in her hand and threw it on the ground. Then she pointed at the men in blue on the ground and said with a stern face, "Do you all admit your wrongdoing? Don't bully others again in the future, otherwise I will teach you a lesson every time I see you." As she said, she even squeezed her chubby little fist and waved them at them. The only one among the men in blue who was still standing was the leader. He still held his gourd-shaped magic weapons that he was proud of, but his eyes were full of horror at this time. "My magic weapon is rank 4. Even the martial artists of Meridian Stage may not be able to resist it. This girl seems to have no cultivation. How exactly did she do it?" Seeing that the girl had finished teaching a lesson to the people on the ground, she began to walk toward him step by step. The leader was shocked, and he staggered back. What do you want to do?" The girl snatched the gourd in his hand, looked up and down, and snorted coldly, "You are a bad guy. Leaving this kind of thing in your hands will only harm people." After she finished speaking, she exerted force and squeezed a rank 4 weapon into a ball. The leader's legs were trembling as if the girl was a monster to him. The girl dropped the deformed gourd, made a fist gesture to the man in blue, raised her chin and asked, "Hey, did you hear what I said just now?" No more wrongdoings in the future, otherwise I will not let you go. Do you hear me? Yes. I hear you. How did the man in blue dare to refute? He couldn't wait to kneel down and beg her for mercy. The girl seemed to be satisfied now. After clapping her hands, she turned around and was about to leave. At this moment, a woman's charming voice came from the carriage that had been quiet. Who said you can go? As soon as the voice sounded, a woman in a red dress jumped off the carriage. She looked less than 10 years old with a double-ring bun. She stared at the girl with her eyes as if she was about to strip her alive. The woman in a red dress looked quite exquisite. She had an oval face, a high nose, and slightly sunken eyes, which made her look exotic. It was just that her skin seemed to be a little black and yellow that was close to wheat. It looked a little nondescript when paired with a red dress. But as soon as the audience saw the woman in red dress, they immediately showed awe and fear. They stepped back a few steps in silence. When they first saw the carriage and the guards in blue, many people guessed the identity of the person in the carriage. So, even if they were injured by the guards in blue, they dared not speak. When Heshi and the others watched the shows by the side, they heard whispers of people around them. Chapter 906, A Dumbass, Brother Feng. I came to Yangon City for the first time, and I'm not familiar with the things here. Who is the woman in a red dress? Why is she so arrogant? Brother Xian, this woman in red dress is Ren Shuling. She is the daughter of the former lord of Yangon City, and she is also the disciple of the Doctors Association's president. She is the person whom you can't offend the most in this Yangon City. Doctors Association's president's disciple? The person who asked earlier couldn't help but exclaim, is it the Miluo continent's only 10th rank physician and medicine master? Is he the Doctors Association's president, Lu Shuyang, who is known as the top genius in medical skills? Who else could it be? So she is his disciple. No wonder she is already at the peak of the meridian stage at a young age. The little girl is pitiful. It seems that she is going to suffer. Yeah, right? This Ren Shuling has always been accustomed to behaving arrogantly in Yangon City. Whoever offends her will be ruined completely. Now this little girl, let alone she isn't Ren Shuling's opponent, even if she wins, she will most likely get revenge. Sigh, she couldn't help but raised her eyebrow. The president of the Doctors Association, Lu Shuyang, she had also heard of it. It was said that when he was only in his early 30s, he had already received the 8th rank doctor's title. Later, he went up all the way to the position of the president of the Doctors Association. After he took over as the president of the Doctors Association, decades have passed. The Doctors Association had become more and more prosperous under his management, seeming to monopolize the entire Miluo continent pharmaceutical market. Judging from all these achievements, Lu Shuyang really had some abilities. The whispers of the crowd did not affect the development of the matter on the other side. When Ren Shuling got out of the car, she sternly shouted at the girl, "Which rural village do you come from? You dare to stop my carriage and hurt my person, I think you are tired of living." When the girl was stopped again and heard the woman in a red dress rude words, she became a little angry. "You're the rural village girl." The girl scolded Ren Shuling mercilessly with her arms on her waist. "Your skin is like charcoal, and yet you dressed in red, just like a dumbass in a red wedding gown. You obviously did something wrong and almost hurt someone. Not only did you not apologize, but you also scold me. Ugly person really has a black heart as well. You dare to call me ugly." Ren Shuling, who was only angry at first, suddenly trembled with anger. Her entire face became distorted. "What I hate most is that people say I have dark skin, and this bitch not only pokes my scars, but she also dares to say that I'm like a dumbass. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it!" Ren Shuling almost went mad, and a whip suddenly appeared out of her hand. As soon as this whip appeared, the temperature in the air seemed to drop a few degrees. The onlookers who were a little closer to Ren Shuling couldn't help but shudder all over and backed away. You bitch, die. The whip suddenly turned into a shadow, whipping at the girl fiercely. The cold air spread to the surrounding as she whipped, giving people an illusion that even the air was freezing. The girl seemed to be taken aback. As she was caught off guard, she directly stretched out her hand to catch the whip shadow in the air. Seeing this, Ren Shuling couldn't help but sneer. Chapter 907, It's so warm. This idiot, who dared to grab the whip with his hands, is simply living impatiently. Her whip itself was refined with 1,000-years-old ice. Combined with her own ice attribute's spiritual power, not to mention the consequences of being whipped, even if she touched it lightly, a layer of her skin would be peeled off. Not to mention, this woman actually dared to hold her whip with bare hands. In a while, her entire hand would freeze into ice and crack. Ren Shuling was smiling triumphantly, but soon, her smile froze. After catching the whip, the girl was stunned. She then shook it in her hand, revealing a curious smile on her face. It was a whip that would make people suffer. In the hands of this little girl, it looked like a toy. The girl even pulled and snatched the whip in Ren Shuling's hand. This is really fun. The girl smiled like she was playing with a toy. It's so cold and cool, are you throwing it to me as a gift? Then I will accept it, hee hee. The girl was young and ignorant, but not stupid. Of course, she knew that the fierce woman in red didn't give her the whip. But she disliked this woman very much, so she also wanted to make her uncomfortable. It was just right that the whip was cold and fun to play, so she kept it without guilt. Ren Shuling didn't expect that the ice whip would be snatched away. The whip is given by my master, and it took a lot of effort to forge it successfully. It is so majestic to whip it, which makes me like it so much. Now it is taken away by this bitch. Ren Shuling suddenly felt anger rushing to her head, causing her to channel the spiritual power in her body desperately. She roared, "Thousands miles ice seal." As soon as she said, the icy breath suddenly filled the air. Everyone only heard the sound of creaking, then the temperature in the air dropped rapidly. It was now autumn, but the sky suddenly started to snow. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, my feet are frozen, help. Mother, I'm so cold, woo." For a time, the originally bustling and colorful streets seemed to be covered with frost. The wailing of everyone was heard one after another. Thousands miles ice seal quickly spread to Heshi and Nangongyu, and they heard everyone screaming. Bai Hu shivered with the cold. He jumped on the spot and shouted, "Master, Princess, do you need us to deal with this ice?" Before Nangongyu and Heshi could talk, the little golden dragon who was lying on Shaoqi immediately flew into the sky and said, "Boss, let me do it. I like to deal with ice the most." Heshi smiled and nodded. Little golden dragon immediately flew into the sky excitedly, and he spouted flames from his mouth. The fire spread across the street in an instant, engulfing all the people and shops in it. Everyone was frightened. If it was just ice, they could still be alive, but if it was fire, how could they escape? However, the next moment, they were shocked by what happened. These flames surrounded them didn't hurt them at all, but they only melted the ice. A child even reached out his hand to poke at the flame that was rising next to him, and he couldn't help but smile. "Mother, it's so warm, it's not cold at all." Chapter 908, Beaten into a pig's head. After just a few seconds, the nearby ice was melted, and the flames also gradually disappeared without a trace. Everyone realized that it was Heshi and her group melted the ice that made them tremble. They immediately looked over with gratitude. Ren Shuling and the Pinky Girl naturally also noticed the situation here. Ren Shuling didn't see clearly. She just sneered, "Even dare to meddle my business? Wait until I deal with this bitch, it will be your turn after that." The Pinky Girl turned her head and showed a gratitude smile to He and her party, then she glared at Ren Shuling. "You ugly woman with ill intentions, how can you do this? This is our fight, why do you want to involve the others?" Little Golden Dragon only got rid of the ice on the street, but the Pinky Girl faced Ren Shuling's attack, so she was still covered with ice. Seeing that her hands and feet were already covered by ice and the frost still falling in the sky also stopped her movement, Ren Shuling couldn't help laughing. "So what if I involve the others? There are just insignificant peasants in my eyes. As long as I can kill you, their death is nothing." The Pinky Girl clenched her fists and said with resentment, You are too much. I have decided to teach you a lesson. Even if I will be scolded by Master, I don't care." Ren Shuling sneered, "You're now frozen by my ice. You can't move and protect yourself, and you still want to teach me a lesson? Dreaming. I will now ruin your face. Let's see how can you come out to the public in the future." As Ren Shuling said, an ice blade formed in her hand. She flew toward the Pinky Girl ferociously. As the blade was about to pierce the Pinky Girl suddenly threw a punch at Ren Shuling's chest ruthlessly. A loud bang sound. Ren Shuling was in the air, vomiting a mouthful of blood. The spiritual power shield all over her body suddenly shattered. She was like being stomped by an elephant. It was so painful that even her internal organs had moved. Seeing that Ren Shuling was about to fly out, the Pinky Girl grabbed her back and smashed her face with the pinky fist. After a few punches, Ren Shuling's face had already turned blue and purple, half of her cheek was swollen. Her somewhat delicate face was now utterly ugly. Moreover, the force of the Pinky Girl's fist was too terrifying. Even if Ren Shuling put up the spiritual power shield, she still screamed in pain being beaten. In the end, she couldn't help begging for mercy. Seeing her begging for mercy, the Pinky Girl let go of her with satisfaction. She stood up and said proudly, "Look, as Senior said, some people won't shed tears without using brute force. After a round of beating, they will be obedient. If you dare to bully others in the future, I will beat you into a real pig head." Ren Shuling knew how ugly she was now without looking in the mirror. When the people watching saw her miserable appearance, they wanted to laugh, but thinking of her identity, no one dared to laugh out loud. However, no one on Heshi's side would care about this. Chapter 909, Sneak Attack by Who approached Heshi and said, "Miss, I didn't think so when the girl said that she looks like a dumbass, but now when her face is swollen, she really seems like it with her neck shortened." "Ha ha ha ha, like a dumbass. Like a dumbass." Little Egg clapped his paws and laughed, "Sister Tutu is mighty, you are the most handsome beating the dumbass." "Little Egg, you are wrong, she is like a dumbass in a red wedding gown, ha ha ha." Because the whole street was silent, the laughter of Little Egg and the others became very noticeable at this time. The Pinky Girl looked toward the source of the laughter, then she saw many spiritual pets lining up to cheer for her. Pink Pig, Mini Dragon, Silly Cow, and Cute Little Girl. Whoa, how come they look so cute, especially the Pink Pig makes me want to rush over to knead it twice. The Pinky Girl's eyes were bright, and the girl's heart burst. Ren Shuling hated her, she hated not only the Pinky Girl, but also those who dared to laugh at her and even everyone on the street. Ren Shuling had already made up her mind that when she returned, she would have people kill all these damned peasants, leaving no one to live. The Pinky Girl, who has caused me to be so humiliated today and turned me into such a miserable appearance, I must tear her into pieces now. Thinking of this, Ren Shuling took out an oddly shaped flying knife from her arm. The color of this flying knife was unobtrusive and mixed color. There was even some iron red rust on the knife. However, this knife was made by her master, the president of the Doctors' Association, Lu Xiang. Some of the most powerful poisons in the world are mixed into it. After being refined by the spiritual fire, as long as it was injected with spiritual power, it could 100% penetrate the protective shields of martial artists below the nascent soul stage. Once the martial artist's body was injured by this flying knife, even if it was just a small wound, the toxin would immediately transfer from the flying knife to the martial artist's body, making him immediately suffer a living hell. No matter how strange and powerful this Pinky girl is, can she even survive the deadly knife made by Master? Ren Shuling sinisterly stared at the back of the Pinky girl. Seeing that she turned her head to look at the group of spiritual pets and not paying attention to her, she injected spiritual power into the flying knife and threw it at the Pinky girl's back. Bitch, just die. The Pinky girl turned her head when she heard the sound, then she saw a gray-black flying knife was thrown at her at lightning speed. She hurriedly reached out to block, but the next moment, she felt a cold force coming from the flying knife. The Pinky girl instinctively felt something wrong. She had a hunch that if she took the flying knife, she would definitely be hurt by the flying knife. At the critical moment, she leaned back and avoided the throwing knife. Just when the Pinky girl breathed a sigh of relief, Ren Shuling laughed and said, "Bitch, do you think you can escape? The deadly knife will never be retrieved without killing someone." Sure enough, the flying knife, that had flown past the Pinky girl's head, immediately spun back. The speed was actually several times faster than before. The Piney girl could no longer dodge this time, finally showing a look of panic on her face. Seeing the flying knife pierced her chest, a metallic sound came into her ears. Immediately afterward, the flying knife seemed to have encountered its nemesis as it stopped in mid-air, making a buzzing sound. Chapter 9-10, Fairy Jishi. At the same time, green smoke began to emerge from the flying knife. However, as soon as the smoke appeared, it seemed to be swallowed by something. When the smoke disappeared, the flying knife seemed to have lost all support. It fell to the ground with a crack. At the same time, there were a few silver needles exuding dark purple smoke falling on the ground. The Pinky girl was in shock, staring blankly at the shattered flying knife and the silver needles on the side, then she suddenly turned her head and looked in the direction of Heshi. At this time, Heshi had also stepped forward, picked up the silver needles from the ground, and picked up one of the fragments of the flying knife. "Mister, did you save me?" The pink girl stared straight at Heshi's face. Her face was blushing like a red apple. Heshi smiled at her, then she said, "I'm only interested in the poison on this flying knife, not intended to save you. You don't have to thank me." The Pinky girl didn't seem to hear her. She just looked at her with hot cheeks, and her eyes were reluctant to look away. Ren Shuling also suddenly recovered, pointing at Heshi and screaming, You actually ruined my deadly knife. I'm going to kill you." With that said, Ren Shuling was about to rush toward Heshi. But what greeted her was another round of iron fists from the Pinky girl. And this time, the Pinky girl exerted 30% more force. Her first punch slammed on Ren Shuling's stomach, which made her spout a mouthful of blood. The Pinky girl said furiously, "You have not changed after repeated lessons, you're simply hopeless. Never mind that you sneak attack, but you even want to kill my savior? I won't let you go again this time." As she said, she clenched her fist again. The seemingly ordinary fist was tinged with a light pink luster. But Nangong Yu was the only one present to see the layer of luster. He raised his eyebrow and slowly showed a thoughtful look. The Pinky girl's fist was about to hit Ren Shuling, and Ren Shuling was already trembling with fright. Suddenly, a cold and pleasant voice came slowly from high above, "Stop." A woman wearing a light blue gauze slowly fell from the sky. Her robes were fluttering as she slowly landed in front of Ren Shuling. The Pinky girl had already launched her punch at this time, but she didn't hit anything. It seemed to be blocked by something in mid-air. There was a pale green wind wall rippling in the air. It was this wind wall that blocked the devastating blow of the Pinky girl. The wind wall receded, and the true face of the woman in green clothes was revealed. She had long slender eyebrows, clear almond eyes and an oval face with a perfect chin. Her snow-white skin, in comparison to Ren Shuling's black and yellow skin, was crystal clear. The woman seemed to be in her 20s, looked like she should be around 20 years old, but she gave a sense of otherworldly elegance just like the fairy above the 9 heavens. People would only admire her when they look at her, but they forget to explore her age. As soon as Ren Shuling saw this person, she immediately rushed over with a cry, "Senior sister, save me, woo!" The audience also saw the woman's face clearly at this time, and they suddenly took a deep breath. Isn't that Fairy Jishi? Why would Fairy Jishi appear here? You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.